Hey guys, TrilogyVenus here, and today I'm going to be talking about how to use astrology and the planetary transits to have a successful business. Successful. Yeah, so basically this is a little cheat code, for people that's into astrology. You probably already know some of these and you probably already know, certain things, but I'm just going to touch bases on it. So let's talk about the houses. So I say like the first house, the fifth house, the seventh house, and the 11th house. Those are kind of like interaction houses to me. Because when planets like Jupiter are in your first house, it can give you presence. It can kind of make people pay attention to you. So it's not necessarily like as far as transactions, like, oh, you're going to make sales, but it can bring people to you. Like, people are going to notice you. Like, people are going to, people might want to click on your stuff because Jupiter's in your first house. You're going to attract attention. So if you have a business doing something like a YouTube or, doing a little photo shoot or something to give you exposure, the first house is it, especially when Jupiter or maybe Venus is in your first house. That's when you should be putting yourself out there, letting people see you, because the first house is the house itself, is how you present yourself. So what people are gonna, with Jupiter is in your first house, that's gonna give you presence. That's gonna make people look at you, basically. So the fifth house is the house of romance and fun, entertainment. Having Jupiter there can bring you like love, and it doesn't necessarily have to be relationships. It could just be people in general. Like, you're kind of going to be exuding and inviting energy because, Jupiter being in your fifth house or Venus being in your fifth house. So that's another placement for you to put yourself out there. Because you're going to be kind of exuding attractiveness. Like, people are going to be drawn to you as well. So that's another placement. The seventh house, of course, the seventh house is the planet of relationships. I feel like you probably would attract like people of the opposite sex. But let's just say you're a woman and you have a business where, women and men can benefit from whatever your product is. Then Jupiter being in your seventh house could be a good placement for you to put yourself out there as well, because even if you don't attract women so much, you'll attract men. And if men is also your target audience, then they're going to want to come to you as well. And then, of course, we have the 11th house. The 11th house is the house to me of like networking. It's the opposite of the fifth house, which is about love. And the 11th house is about friendship, so of course, any type of people can be, drawn to you. You're also going to have like a inviting energy with the 11th house as well. You probably attract a lot of friends, people that once you get them there, if you do the right things, you could possibly sell them stuff, because it's going to be easier for you to attract friends and people that are interested in you or people that have the same goals in life as you, because the 11th house is the rule of networking. I say this because if you do have Jupiter or Venus transiting these particular houses, like I said, that's the time for you to get yourself out there. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is once you get them to you, what planets are going to help you actually make those sales. So we have Jupiter aspecting Mercury. Mercury, the ruler of Mercury is Gemini and Virgo. Those are about, internet, and to me, those are like sales, mercantile activities. Those are sales. So if you have Jupiter aspecting your Mercury, you have Venus aspecting your Mercury, that's a good placement to actually make sales. So let's just say you have Jupiter transiting the 1st, the 5th, the 7th, or 11th, but you also have like your natal Venus or your natal Jupiter transiting Mercury. That can bring the people to you and make sure you get that sale. That's why I say you should pay attention to the transits, because let's say you have a business that you're trying to launch and you know, you're just picking off a date based off of when you're ready to do it. You know, you're like, okay, once I get all my materials and this, that, and the other. But if you also consider what's going on with the planets, you can have a double whammy. Because to me, you cannot go wrong if you pay attention to the planets, literally. To me, it's like a bulletproof way for you to make sure you actually make sales. Because this thing, if you have a bunch of negative aspects to your natal chart, so say Jupiter is, squaring a bunch of stuff in your chart, Venus is squaring a bunch of stuff in your chart, Jupiter's in your 12th house, like, it's not really in no beneficial place, and you launch your business, you probably won't make as many sales. So that's gonna, discourage you from continuing, because you'll be like, oh, I took this leap of faith and I jumped out here and started this business and nothing came of it, or you didn't do what you were expecting to do because you had a bunch of negative placements, because you didn't time it out and plan it out the correct way based off the transits and, to be successful in your business. That's why I say, like, it's very important to pay attention to the planets. The planets can really help you in any aspect of life. Like, if you're looking for love, if you're, you're trying to find love and you say, okay, Venus is about to be in my 5th house. Let me go out. Like your friend invites you out and you say no, but you're like, let me go out. You know what I'm saying? By Venus being in your 5th house, you could easily attract somebody else to you, especially if you're dating or you're looking, something like that. But let's get back to business. Okay, so the 2nd house and the 8th house. If you have Venus and Jupiter, even Mercury, I say even Mercury, even the sun. Because like I say, the sun can bring you presence as well. The sun is like your ego. To me, the sun is like a 2nd ascendant, honestly. It's also how you present yourself. So the sun going through any of the houses I talked about earlier, and the sun going through like your 2nd house or your 8th house. The 2nd house is your money, your possessions. So Jupiter being there, Jupiter is a planet of abundance. It's going to bring you abundance when it comes to your money. Also, the 8th house is the ruler of other people's money. So Jupiter being in the 8th house, that's going to bring you abundance when it comes to other people's money. So doesn't that sound like buying? That sounds like buying. That sounds like people that you can get to buy things from you. So if you have Venus in transiting your 8th house, or Jupiter transiting your 8th house, that's a good, that's a good money. That's some good money. That's some money that could be coming in from other people. Another thing, too, is like I said, your sun is how you present yourself. Venus is, to me, Venus means money as well. Venus is the ruler of Taurus and Libra. I don't know no Tauruses and no Libras that don't like to get money. Like, I'm just saying. So Venus aspecting your natal Venus aspecting your natal Jupiter. Jupiter, like I said, is a planet of abundance. So, getting money, getting possessions, you'll also probably, have a good time. You'll probably spend a little more money, but that's going to be a way for you to get money as well. So let's just say you have, in your personal chart, you have aspects that are compatible with each other. So let's just say you have Sun in fire, Jupiter in fire, Venus in air, right? All those are compatible, which means that whenever there's a positive aspect, whenever there's an aspect to Jupiter, like Jupiter transit, like if Jupiter's transiting an air sign or a fire sign, it's going to make a positive aspect to your Sun, your Jupiter, and your Venus. So that'll be a time for you to say, okay, let me release me a product, or let me present, something new that I'm doing that can make me some sales. That's why I say you should just time it out. You should just time it out. Don't just think about when you'll have the money or when your item will be complete. Also look at the transits. Because the transits are literally a bulletproof way for you to make sure that you are successful. Not saying you will become a millionaire, because of course it takes work. It also takes work. It's not just going to come to you. Let's just say you feel like you don't have to do no work because you got a transit. Like, that's not how it works. You got to put a little effort in there. But because you'll have positive aspects aspecting your chart, it'll make it so much easier for positivity and, you know, abundance to come towards you. So that's it on my video. See you guys later. Until next time.